No.
Matt Brown, are we doing South Side like the Pope?
Like the Pope, in my neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
The White Sox stink, and they're probably going to stink for the foreseeable future. But when your team gets the Pope, you can wear the hat.
You can wear the hat.
Yeah, I wondered, Matt, like when, and look, as a Catholic, we're all, waiting with bated breath to see who it's going to be. And when it was a guy who I half expect when they said the guy from Chicago, hey, listen, Catholics, we're going to have baby back rib night here at the Vatican. I was waiting for that. I mean, I was hoping for it.
No, it has been nothing but like 6 days straight in town of just Elwood Blues memes and deep dish communion wafers, and people here are not going to shut up about this forever. Even if he's doing nothing but speaking Italian, and bringing up Peru more than he is Chicago. No, he's ours.
Hey,
what would
happen
if he took spaghetti noodles and broke them in half?
Wouldn't do that. Wouldn't do that. Wouldn't do that.
That'd be it. He'd be gone. He'd be gone. Oh, go ahead. You were going to say something else.
No,
Bob.
hey, New York doesn't have a pope.
What's hilarious? We had a pope from the south side of Chicago who didn't go to Notre Dame. We're sitting here, we're talking all of this here about high school recruiting and transfer portal recruiting. If there hasn't been a bigger recruiting miss in the last 70 years than Notre Dame letting a pope in their traditional backyard get away, and he had to go to the Big East, I don't know what it is.
Yeah. No, that's a great point.
That's true. I
bet it doesn't happen again, though. I mean, they'll be a part of that conversation. So you have your extra points, and I've told this and said this. It's a great newsletter. I love reading it. At times it's going to take a little longer than others, but I print it sometimes, because I kill trees, and then I'll piece together. So let's start, though, with the general manager position. I saw you reacting maybe to somebody else's note about with Mike Lombardi. And it was like the most disappointing. This is from a Lombardi quote. The most disappointing thing about college game that I've experienced, players don't view the contracts as binding. And then he also was talking about maybe the interaction between players and also the teams. So do you feel like Lombardi and Nagy will be the first test because that's what they're doing?
I definitely think Lombardi is because he's, I think, the highest paid GM. He's the highest profile GM right now. And what you would hear, I made this point while interviewing other GMs. I've seen other of my columnists and reporter colleagues saying something similar, that there's some big differences between the NFL and college football. You can be an outstanding talent evaluator. You can understand ball. And that's great. That's very much part of the gig. But there's so much in the college world that's different. In part because of the fluidity of contracts. There's no collective bargaining agreement. You're not dealing with employees. You're not dealing with agents that have met the same standard of professional certification and quality as you have in the NFL. And there's a whole lot of horse trading and campus politics that have to go into running a roster too. I think one of the most, kind of compelling things that I heard was talking to some other college GMs saying, like, big part of my gig is knowing who I got to talk to in the compliance department. Who on the academic side that we got to talk to make sure that a JUCO kid that we want, that his stuff's going to be able to transfer correctly. And if you've spent the last 12 years with the Cleveland Browns or doing something else completely different, you don't know that world. So I'm not shocked that Lombardi is like, wow, I didn't, this is disappointing to me. I didn't realize this because that wasn't his world. But you and me and everybody else here that's really in the weeds of college football will go, duh. I mean, we could have told you that, and we don't even have .edu email addresses. If somebody like Nagy at least has been in the college adjacent world, I think, for a much longer period of time than Lombardi, and maybe at the end of the day they'll all be fine, but they're not the same thing. And I'm not at all surprised to hear that there's been some learning curves and some bumps in the road for those kind of guys.
Matt, the House settlement continues to drag out. And it really is, I mean, the judge told him exactly what you want him to do. And they, like the NCAA does, they went, all right, we'll go like 80% of the way there, but we're going to leave something out. So maybe we can get a win. What do you think happens here? Do they wind up having to capitulate on that or go to court?
Extended vehicle warranties. What is the waiting period? An extended car warranty or vehicle service contract usually has a set expiration. Warranty providers have introduced a waiting period. This waiting period lasts for 30 days or 1,000 miles. That means that your coverage only starts after the 30 days, or once you've reached 1,000 miles. Protect your vehicle. Sign up on Chase today.
I would be really surprised if this settlement falls apart. And from reading the actual stuff that Wilkins put out there and talking to other lawyers, it's pretty clear that she wants to just ride off in the sunset. This is her last case. They just wanted to fix this one thing. And yeah, it surprised a lot of people to see the motion coming back and saying, we're not going to mandate this here for everybody. But it would be a significant surprise if something that ultimately doesn't cost that much money and isn't going to change that many athlete-specific situations blows up this entire thing, especially because the costs of going to court and losing are truly existential. The billions of dollars in back damages and the millions of dollars in revenue sharing that's going to occur this summer is going to mean a lot. It's going to mean a lot for Baylor and Tech and Incarnate Word and everybody in this ecosystem. But if this went to trial and if the NCAA lost, not a sure thing, but then when you add in the treble damages here, and you're looking at north of $10 billion in potential liabilities, that cooks Indianapolis. That cooks the NCAA. And I don't think that anybody in power right now wants that to happen, knowing what else is potentially still on the road coming here for the NCAA.
Nick Saban and Cody Campbell, the greatest coach of all time and a billionaire oil booster from the state of Texas. Are they the greatest tag team since the Road Warriors? And are they going to solve all of college football's problems, Matt?
You know, the Road Warriors thing, I think that's a reference that unfortunately I'm not going to get. I'm like trying to think of
it's a little older. It's a little older.
Little older. I wrote
the
about
Hardy
this.
Boys. How about that?
Sure. There we okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm a dork. I wrote about this a little bit here today. My expectations for this presidential commission are relatively low, given the kinds of people that I think are going to be a part of this group, and they've already signaled what they're looking for. Campbell's written a couple of different stories for The Federalist, a conservative political blog, about what he thinks about college sports reform. Nick Saban has not been shy about saying what he wants. Both of these guys believe that there should be some kind of limited antitrust exemption and a national NIL standard. And if those are your co-chairs, I don't think President Trump's going to fill in the rest of the group with a bunch of Drake Group people and university presidents and folks looking for way more ambitious academic reforms. They're not going to fill it with a bunch of labor organizers trying to set up, college athletes union local 145 somewhere under the UAW banner. I think they're going to be people that already feel pretty similar to these two folks. And that isn't for me to say that all these ideas are bad or wrong, but I would look at this more as an exercise to try and manufacture consent or to get more Republican lawmakers on board with some of these ideas to get a Cruz bill over the finish line than I would for some kind of novel, completely reformy working group. Lord knows there's been a lot of those working groups and a lot of PDFs made since all of us here have been in this business about college sports reform.
Too many, Matt. The issue, like getting a bill over the line is the only thing that they can do. But if this ends in an executive order, that's even a bigger nothing than anything, because there's no teeth to those. That's just, I wrote down there should be this, but there's not mechanisms in executive orders.
Well, they're usually not, right? And this is something I wrote about here too, and I want to be careful about the market I'm in here. I want to tread carefully, but to the extent that an executive order has teeth depends on what Congress and the courts do. And if this is supposed to be limited to the executive branch, but nobody challenges it and courts are fine with it, and the Congress doesn't push back, yeah, it might work for a little while until you have a new president or a new Congress, and then it gets undone. It's certainly not supposed to be permanent. I don't want to go so far as to say there's nothing that Trump could do about college sports, in part because if we're being honest, there's a bunch of stuff that in Schoolhouse Rock or in my sophomore year political science class, we learned presidents probably shouldn't be able to do, and maybe they get overturned in lawsuits later, but they've happened now. So those are all things that I think university presidents need to be cognizant of. Because I don't know, maybe I'm just making this up here. You come back and say, okay, I think college sports should be like this, and if you disagree, I'm taking away all of your FAFSA and Pell Grant money because that's run through the DOE and that is the executive branch. Well, I mean, it could take 6 months for the lawsuits to get sorted out. In the meantime, people are missing their money. So you never know how everyone's going to respond.
How do you think it will end with Judge Wilkin? Will it ever end? Because then there's still going to be lawsuits no matter what she rules on. But kind of give me your idea, because I'm not real good about some of these things. But other than the fact that they keep she keeps telling them, this is what I want you to do. And they keep on like, yeah, but I didn't make like Paul, you brought this up. Clean your room. You did, but you didn't pick up the socks on the floor. How much can they push this with her?
I think that's a great analogy. And I don't know how this has been maybe with your kids, but I've definitely had some moments where I'm trying to get my girls to do something so we can leave. I say, clean the room. And they clean the room, but the bed's not made. Make the bed. Okay, but now this sock's over here. And at some point, because I am maybe not as good of a dad as I should be all the time, at some point in my head, I just go, hell with it. And we just go. And they get away with maybe not doing 100% of that particular thing. And that's how settlements work sometimes. I expect Wilkin to eventually approve this. But to your point, Smokey, like, we are going to have other litigation. And I think I am doomed as somebody who deliberately said, I don't want to write about antitrust for a living. I'm not going to go to law school. So I'm going to be doomed to write about antitrust for a living at least once a month until the heat death of the universe. Because House will be done, and then Tom Mars or Darren Heitner or some of the other lawyers are going to round up some people, and they're going to sue again. And we're just going to have to keep doing this. It'll fade into the background noise of the college football offseason, right up there with Pac-12 and Big 12 conference realignment rumors, and people potentially going to the NFL. We're just doomed to talk about this forever.
So do you find yourself almost every time you do a newsletter having to mention it until it's over?
A little bit. I've kind of been grappling with this a little bit for my audience, thinking like, can I get away with just ignoring the next couple of news cycles about this if nothing structurally changes? Can I just say, like, the extra points policy is now, I will wait until there's white smoke from Judge Wilkin's office, and until that happens, we're just going to keep talking about something else. Maybe nobody will complain because there's going to be 6 other people that are happy to jump after every jot and tittle that happens with this story. I think I'm a little over it, simply because I'm running out of ways to kind of express the same tension and challenges that everyone's been having here, I think, for the last 3 years.
I'm over it. And it's not because I don't quite understand it. I understand what it is. There was a time I thought it was a lot bigger. It's big, but I thought there was a time when this would solve a lot of the other problems in college athletics until I was struck down on that. Because it doesn't.
You're not alone with that. That was something a lot of ADs and university presidents thought too. I think that the scope of what this was meant to address has definitely shrunk over the last 18 months. Not unlike other potential legal settlements or even acts of Congress. We think we've solved the problem, and then it turns out you've only done it a little bit. Like when I try to do home improvement repairs.
Yeah, there you go,
Matt. The next iteration of the video game is coming out soon. I'll just tell you, since I've got you on right now, I've made overtures towards EA. I hope they include me in this year because I feel like with the amount of time I've spent on it, I could do some damage.
Sure.
But I'm sure you feel the same way. What do you think about the new additions to the video game, and do you think that they can? I don't know how many new people they're going to get, right? But how much can they retain of people buying a game year over year?
I definitely don't think they're going to get a lot of new people. The financial projections for the last game were completely obliterated, and which I think speaks to how good of a job they did with the actual game, and also just how much pent-up demand there was. This was one of the best console movers in the last 20 years, meaning that a lot of people bought a PlayStation just to play this game, people that weren't console gamers in general beforehand, which is normally something that only happens for like Grand Theft Auto. It's very rare for sports games. The challenge is that you don't really get 12 months to make a new game. You get like 4.5. You get 5. Like the last time I was at EA's studios before the version 25 came out, they were already talking and working a little bit on storyboarding and figuring out what they're going to do for 26 and 27. So I haven't played 26 yet. I hope to be able to do that before this game comes out. There's interviews that are embargoed and work that I am doing on this next release, and I think that there's going to be some changes that people will like. I would not expect a completely wholesale different game. It's going to be different from the last year, but it's not going to be an order of magnitude jump like it was from 14 to 25. There's just not enough time to do that.
Have you even thought about football season around the corner and looking at that? I mean, is that even on your radar yet?
Man, I'm so glad you asked that, because I was thinking about this listening to your segment before you brought me on. I'm trying to rack my brain about the Big 12 next year, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't think I can name 4 starting quarterbacks in the league right now. And it's not because I don't care. It's because I've just been so busy with some of these other stories. I legitimately don't know. Like I think if I'm aware it's happening, and I've tried not to engage with it too much until I knew who was actually going to be on the rosters. And now that I think that's set a little bit more, I can start to think about it. But if you were to ask me, hey, could you give me a good 16 minutes on who's going to win the league next year? Like, fellas, I don't think I could, and not just because this league is has so much parity.
Yeah, that's one of the things. We never know with this league because of what we've seen over the history of time. The quarterbacks, though, you better start digging, because there's like 8 to 12 of them. They're pretty good. So
sure.
You have a homework assignment along with picking the socks up off the floor when you make your bed. Matt, great to have you, buddy. We appreciate you so much. Thank you.
You bet. Thanks, fellas. Take
Extra
care.
points with us on 365 Sports.